Hey, Sean. I've done video production for about 15 years now professionally. Before that, I was doing it as a hobby. I've played on Frisbee teams and coached. I have a family. I have friends. I've got a lot of life, and I just had a birthday a few weeks ago, and it's one of those things that makes you think about your life and where it's going. And then just after that, I'm a trustee on the board of trustees for a school called the College School in Webster Gross, Missouri, which is this really neat independent school. But we had this board meeting, and we were talking about goals for the future. And as we were doing this, we kept referencing our mission statement as this sort of guiding principle. We put a lot of time into the mission statement, and it changes occasionally as we change. But anytime we're doing new initiatives or new ideas, we're always coming back to the mission statement to make sure it aligns. And it dawned on me, and it took something as obvious as reviewing someone else's mission statement to say, why doesn't Boom have a mission statement? Why don't I, Sean, have a mission statement? Why can't I go through things in my life and say, should I try this? Does this really align with what I want to be doing? Does this get me closer to where I want to be at the end of my life, whenever that may be? So I thought, hey, why don't I come up with a mission statement for my production, for the production part of my life? Because I love making YouTube videos. They're sort of all over the place. There's some tutorials. There's a lot of philosophical nonsense. There's some critiques of my work and things like that. I love doing videos for clients and for different nonprofits and educational institutions. I want to do a children's show and make that accessible for people. And so there's all these things, and I'm wondering, what is the guiding light that all these things can align with? So I came up with a mission statement, and I did not set out for it to be this alliterative, but there's 6 E's in it. And the first 3 make the mission statement, and the second 3 are how I'm going to accomplish that. And so my mission statement that I came to is, I want to empower and equip everyone to tell their story. And that's a lot of what I do, is telling people stories in my actual production work for clients, where I'm working with nonprofits and educational institutions and whomever else to tell their story, to help tell their story for some purpose. Maybe it's to get more awareness, more participation, more donors, something like that. But I'm helping tell their stories, and stories that matter. And as our world changes and in a lot of ways becomes more polarized, and people like really dig into trenches with where their head's at, hearing more people's stories always helps. It's always illuminating, and it always has the potential to change your mind about what you think. So many good documentaries are about, like, man, I had no idea that these people were doing that, and turns out it was this whole thing, and they've been doing this for so long. And you hear those stories, and those are stories worth hearing, and I'm glad that people took the time to tell those stories. And so the more stories that we can put out there, the more confident we as individuals can become to tell our own stories, I think the better the world becomes. And I want to put in the disclaimer, the caveat here, that this is limited to non-violent and non-mean stories. If your story, if your opinion is that someone, a group of people based on something, should not have access to other things, that's not a story that I think needs to be told. That's bigotry, and that's rude, and I don't want to empower or equip that. So when I say everyone, I think you may feel that way, and I'm very interested in hearing the stories that brought you to that point, where you feel like certain people should be denied something, because that's at the heart of what a lot of our political discourse is. And it's not about arguing about where we are now, but everyone needs to take the time to say, well, wait. Not what, but why? Why do you feel this way? Let me hear you out, because if you're coming from an entirely different experience, then that's going to inform your decision, and maybe we need to go back and address that and look at where I came from and maybe some of the inconsistencies there. What can we learn from each other to move forward together? And so these stories are really, really important, and I want to empower and equip people to tell those stories. So by empowering, I mean give people the confidence, the encouragement to tell their story, to feel like someone is going to listen to their story, to understand that their story has value. And all of our stories is what makes us special as a society, as a species. And by equip, I mean I have skills that I've learned through photography and videography and through my career that by sharing these with people and maybe even sharing the actual physical equipment in certain situations and like what I do professionally is equip people to tell their story. I set up the cameras, I set up the microphones, and then you get to tell your story. And so by doing that and by sharing on YouTube ways that you can tell your own story or help tell other people's stories, that's what resonates with me, and that's what I want to do. I want to empower and I want to equip. So the three things, the three other E's that go toward making this happen are, one, through encouragement. I think that's the most obvious one. I think a lot of my content is about my own struggles, and by encouraging myself and encouraging other people. It's the simplest way to say, hey, go tell your story. We're listening. We're not gonna criticize you. We want to hear these. It's important that we hear these, and it's important that we share our imperfections and our vulnerabilities. So I'm encouraging you to share your story and be confident about who you are and how you became to be who you are, provided it's nonviolent and you're not just a arbitrarily mean person. Next is by example. And whether that's me going out and doing the work and sharing my work and these examples of telling people stories, or maybe it's through the sharing of my own story on my YouTube channel and some of the philosophical videos that I make and videos about my mission statement and things, videos that are imperfect in their nature, but hopefully by my example, you can realize that, hey, if this dude's doing it and people are paying attention, then you can too, and other people will, and that will be much better off as a world if we can share more of these experiences and these examples. And then the last element of this is explanation. With tutorials and with education another E, with these tutorials, explanation and explaining how to do things, how to frame things, how to tell a story more efficiently, more powerfully, maybe how to find elements, another E, that might resonate with an audience a little bit better based on the things that I've experienced as a filmmaker, as a documentarian, albeit for mostly brands and corporations and nonprofits. It's an explanation that might help you, that might equip you to tell your story. So that's what I want to do. I want to empower and equip everyone nonviolently to tell their story. And I want to do that through encouragement, through example, and through explanation. That's all I got. Tell your story. If you've got a mission statement that guides you, throw it in the comments. I'd love to see what other people are using to get through this life. And like most good things, this will probably change and evolve as I change and evolve. So thank you for being a part of my journey, for listening to my story as long as many of you have. It means a lot to me. And so that's all I got for now. See you later. Bye.